minds. But turn over to verse 28, because look at it says, so husbands ought to love their own wives as their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself. For no one ever hated his own flesh, but nourishes and cherishes it. If we are going to be deliberate at hitting the mark as a husband for manly leadership, manly provision, and also manly protection, we must remember this, that there are enemies, there are parasites, there are idols. For example, in the Old Testament, what happens when you see a godly man assuming the throne of Judah? Israel didn't have any godly kings as far as the divided kingdom is concerned. Oftentimes what they did is they literally did some serious spring cleaning. And they burned the idols. And I submit to you this issue. If we are going to protect our marriage, we must be vigilant, like sentinels, standing guard against all that would wreak havoc upon our marriage and our family. And once again, it's not just the junk out there, the darkness of the world, but the reason why the darkness of the world hooks our hearts is because the darkness that's resident in our own hearts. Oh, wretched man that I am, who will deliver me from this body of death? And so you see in verse 29, for no one ever hated his own flesh, but nourishes and cherishes it, just as the Lord does the church. For we are members of his body, of his flesh, and of his bones. In other words, total identification with our spouse, with our wives, particularly as us leading the ways, fellas. In verse 31, for this reason a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. And so we see God's design for strength in marriage in 28 and 29. Nourishing and cherishing. And that gets into a lot of these practical things that we were talking about already in presenting the mission of Grace Family Ministries. A lot of very practical things. And it's really not that complicated. God's basically the old-fashioned ordinary means of grace. And you're tapping into one of the big ones this morning. Worship. Weekly spiritual discipline of gathering together with the people of God for worship any given Sunday. And as far as any given morning, as far as, hey, getting in God's Word, as far as spiritual disciplines, as far as that's why we have 1-year Bibles, and we encourage people to keep a prayer journal and get your hands on some good, robust devotional literature, and gather in the evenings as far as supper time and family worship, and spending quality time with your spouse, reading good stuff aloud, and going places like Bible conferences, other family discipleship events, and just being aware and plugging, and tapping in. And that's one of the reasons why I regularly put all kinds of stuff that, out on social media to encourage God's people, point them in the direction of redeeming the time, for the days are evil.